Hello and welcome to Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio. This is Stephen, your host, British by birth, American by choice. The Founding Fathers crafted some remarkable documents that led to the creation of a great country founded on liberty and self-reliance. I have lived in the Euro-socialist nightmare, and I'm doing what I can to return this country to the vision that the Founding Fathers gave us. We need to strive to rebuild that shining city on the hill, for without us, the world has nowhere to turn for freedom. For the next hour, I will be presenting news, views, and guests that help keep the true spirit of America alive.
And good evening, good morning, good afternoon. This is Stephen, your Patrick Come Lately, welcoming you to episode 282 of Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio. For my regular listeners, apologies, I started late again. Technical difficulties as usual. I was hoping that finally was over them. I actually have a brand new computer, and unfortunately hadn't had an opportunity to test it. It's very, very new. Everything's working great, but I couldn't get the microphone to work. I finally found that the mute button was on, but there's no light for that on this computer, and that gave me lots of problems. So here we are, folks. Another episode, lots to talk about. This episode is actually coming to you from Chicago. That's right, I expected to be back in the PCL home studio this week, but at the last minute, just like happened a couple of weeks ago, plans were changed, and I was leaving on a jet plane and flew up here to Chicago. So I'm up here in Chicago and glad to be here. And as I said, for my live listeners, apologies for being late. Obviously, those of you and more of you do so listening to the rebroadcasts or listening to the recordings. And I thank you for that. But for my live listeners, apologies. I do see that Paul has did stick in there and came back to see if I'm here. And yes, Paul, I am here. So hopefully, folks, we shall have lots of fun tonight, lots of topics. And title of tonight's show is A Warning for Evangelicals. But before I do that, I want to talk about yet another case of regressive hypocrisy. And this was tonight, actually, on Megyn Kelly. And I think I mentioned last week, talked about the lady that was sort of using very specious arguments about the Planned Parenthood thing. Well, tonight, Megyn Kelly was talking about Black Lives Matter and the Black Lives Matter activist groups that are going all around the country. And you've probably seen the clips on all the TV programs where they're showing, they're chanting, pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon, and the latest one is the new Black Panther Party chanting, oink, oink, bang, bang. Now, if that's not calling people to attack police officers, I don't know what is. And guess what's happened? In the last few days, a couple of police officers have been executed in cold blood. One in Houston, and now in another one. I can't remember whether it was New York or Illinois, but definitely incited by these Black Lives Matter activists. And I know, I think over the weekend there was, one of them was interviewed and said, yeah, we're a peaceful group, we're not inciting people to kill. But when you chant pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon, and remember, pigs in a blanket was the term that was used by the guy that killed the two cops in New York. And when you chant oink oink bang bang, I think that is very, very definitive what you're saying. That is hate speech. That is inciting people to kill. And believe it or not, the First Amendment doesn't allow you to do that. So how people are allowing this to go on is, the Department of Injustice. How they're, why they're not jumping all over this? Well, of course not, because these are black people. And aside from the fact when you have a situation where somebody's talking about what lives matter, and they started off Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, and the crowd is booing them for saying that. Remember, this was the Democrat, Martin O'Malley, the Democrat candidate for presidency, one of the Democrat things, not very many votes, but the fact that he said that and then was booed and then had to apologize for it. I mean, this is a bizarre world. But anyway, let's go back to what happened tonight on Megyn Kelly, because this makes my blood boil, but I'm going to make it your blood boil even more. But this really makes me annoyed, because Megyn Kelly showed these clips and then had a right-wing, won't bother who that is because that's unimportant, and a left-wing spokesperson to come comment on this. And the person she has on a regular basis is this idiot leftist radio host, Richard Fowler. And so he was asked, because Megyn Kelly showed these clips of these very inciting type chants that were going on, but then showed video clips of the left berating the Tea Party, because when some violence had occurred, they linked it to something that supposedly somebody connected with the Tea Party had said that they claimed incited this violence. Now, I remember at the time it wasn't anything near as obvious, and anything that you would really say, like the Black Lives Matter people are saying, the pigs in a blanket, or the oink oink bang bang that the new Black Panther Party is chanting. So it was nothing but they tenuously made a connection to this, and Megyn Kelly rightly said, "Okay, Richard Fowler, why isn't the left up in arms and saying, folks, you can't say that, you're inciting violence?" Well, he twisted and he turned and he squirmed and he spun things, but this moron Fowler at the end of the line said, well, there's actually no proven link between the chants and the recent killings of police officers. And what I thought was weak. Megyn Kelly sort of prides herself on being a good journalist. Well, we showed that she did exhibit a certain amount of bias. She said it was being hard. Okay, well, give her the benefit of the doubt. But here she fell down because she did not jump on to him immediately when he said there was no proven link. Maybe there isn't, but there was no proven link between what the Tea Party was saying. So if they can say it at that time and say, have all these people standing up and saying, we've got to have more civil talking in the country and that kind of thing, and then not doing it when this happens, again and again and again we are forced to swallow this inane, regressive hypocrisy. Well, I say enough. Folks, it's time to stand up, be counted, and call out these idiots. And that's what I'm doing right now. They are idiots, they are morons, and they are destroying this country with this pseudo-political correctness that they do on the one hand, and yet refuse to call out their own people when anything happens on that side, and often is a lot worse than anything is done by the people that they want to call out. If they don't like this country, let's send them all to Cuba. I'll even pay for one of their tickets. And after all, the regressive in chief wants to improve relations with that country. Let's start by sending our socialist nutcases and communist nutcases over there. Excuse me, folks, sorry. Got a little excited there, but this really does make my blood boil. Okay. I think, and just want to say hi to Paul, as I said, who did stick in there and has joined us. Main topic for today, a warning for evangelicals. Well, where does this come from? I was listening to someone on a radio talk show the other day. I can't remember whether it was Hannity, Levin, or Beck. And a lady called in. Well, let's say a person. I'll be politically correct, much as I hate it. And she was talking, she said she was a Christian, an evangelical, from the South. And she said, and there was a little bit of back and forth, and she said, but we Southern Christians are different. And the basic discussion was initially about the fact that the Southern Christians stay such a person. Well, we have a First Amendment. So I appreciate the social issues. I appreciate that you have abortion or other religious issues, same-sex marriage, that are important to people. But, folks, please stop sticking your head up your rear end and realize this. Thanks to your Christian approach to politics, instead of Romney, we were treated to another 4 years of Obama. So you know what? All the abortion, right? Planned Parenthood, persecution of Christians, same-sex marriage, I'm laying that squarely at your feet. Yes, evangelicals, at your feet. Those of you that stayed home because you couldn't vote for a Mormon, even though he was a Republican, it's all your fault. Because if you'd have voted for him, a lot of what has happened in the last 4 years would not have happened. Yes, you are responsible for the lack of action against Planned Parenthood, because Dear Leader set the tone. And the only reason Dear Leader is there is because of you. It's a well-known fact. Romney didn't lose because the Democrats voted more. It's because the Republicans voted less for Romney. Now, was he the perfect candidate? No. Is anybody a perfect candidate? No. So, think about it, evangelicals. Planned Parenthood, same-sex marriage, persecution of bakers, florists, and photographers who don't want to do things for same-sex weddings. I'd even say the rise of racism in this country, resulting in travesties like Ferguson, Baltimore, the killing of police officers, the whole Black Lives Matters, and things like that. They rest squarely at your feet. So, wake up, evangelicals. When it comes to the 2016 election, please be aware, if you feel that you have to be principled and cannot vote for the GOP candidate, whoever that may be, but if you don't want them because they're not religious enough, you are dooming this country to the enforcement of an even more secular and hedonistic society, which will be forced on us by either Hillier, Crazy Uncle Joe, or the old hippie, and the rest of the regressives. We must first elect a Republican. Hopefully one that is as conservative as possible, and I'll give you, if he's socially conservative and he meets all of your requirements, great. But we have to vote for anything but a Democrat. Once we have the country back on track, and I mean that primarily economically, we have to redo the economy, and that includes things like immigration, we know that, and getting the just getting jobs back and things like that. We need a Republican to do that, getting rid of regulations, getting rid of all this suffocation, getting rid of taxes, all the extra taxes, getting rid of Obamacare. These are all things that have to be done. They are not social issues, I agree. They are economical issues. They are conservative issues, and I'll even go as far to say other conservative issues which I'd like to see. We need to get this country back on track. Once we get the country back on track, then we can start thinking and discussing about social issues. But without a Republican, any Republican, we can forget about your social issues for the next 8 years and perhaps forever, because in the next 4 years, the makeup of the Supreme Court is going to change. There are going to be some judges leaving. And it's pretty dicey at the moment. We've seen that a lot of the time. We think it's a conservative court. It's anything but. And it's going to be pushed. If we let the Democrats have power again in 2016, it's going to be pushed even more to the leftist activist side, and you can forget all of your social issues. The country will go to pot. So, evangelicals, wake up, America. If it means that much to you, just hold your nose and vote for whoever the Republican is going to be, because we have to have that person. Well, I see I'm a little bit over my commercial break, so folks, hang on for a moment, and I will be back after these messages. Sorry, pushed the wrong button there a little too early. Okay, folks, be back shortly.
You can lose 10, 20, 30 pounds or more with Maximum Slim's first ever rapid weight loss guarantee. Today, you get Maximum Slim, an advanced fat and carb blocker, absolutely risk-free. The all-natural ingredients in Maximum Slim are a powerful weight loss combination. The Maximum Slim formula turns your body into a fat-burning furnace that supercharges your weight loss. Advanced fat and carb blocker stops the breakdown of sugar so your body doesn't store it as fat. Today, you'll get both of these products absolutely risk-free with no obligation. Only pay shipping. There are no expensive meal plans or exhausting DVDs. Just take Maximum Slim twice a day. It's fast, simple, and now it's guaranteed. Look, you can start losing weight today or not. Go back to your high school days and wear your favorite jeans again. Guaranteed. Call now and get both weight loss formulas free. Call 800-451-0228. 800-451-0228. That's 800-451-0228.
Doc, you gotta give it to me straight.
All right.
'Cause I'm dying here. I mean, take a look at this letter from the IRS.
Oh, my.
This is killing me, Doc. I tell you, it's killing me.
Cheer up, my friend.
Huh?
The tax doctor is here. My diagnosis tells me that you're going to be just fine.
Really?
The tax doctor will not rest until we find you the best possible tax settlement.
Really, Doc?
Guaranteed.
If the IRS claims you owe them $10,000 or more in business or personal back taxes, call a tax doctor right now. We could save you up to 75% if you qualify. Guaranteed or you pay nothing. Call right now for free details.
800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. That's 800-917-8546.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us.
Okay, folks, thanks for sticking with me through that break. A little bit of chatting with Paul in the chat room there. And by the way, if you are listening live, and unfortunately, it's one of the shortcomings of this Spreaker way of broadcasting my show. I love Spreaker. It's really fun to do. It's got a good control. I do have a couple little problems now and again, technical issues, but otherwise it's a lot better quality than Blog Talk Radio that I used to do. But one thing that I do miss, it doesn't show how many people are actually listening live. The only way I can see who's live is there live if you get into the chat room. So if you are listening live and your name is not Paul, click on the little speech button in your Spreaker little window there, and that will take you into the chat room, and type something. And you can chat with Paul during the show, and normally in the breaks I will try to get in there and type something. It's kind of difficult to type and talk at the same time, but when the commercials are playing, I do like to react with my folks, and it's also nice. I can read what's going on during the show, and try to keep up with that, and perhaps bring in some of your comments or questions into the show on the air. And while we're talking about that, glad to see that Rex made it. Rex, you haven't missed as much as you think due to some technical difficulties. I started 15 minutes late, but hopefully things going okay now. Possibly not my normal quality, because I'm not using my normal microphone. I'm using the PC microphone, I believe. I'm not sure. That's part of the technical problems. I got a new computer and I didn't get it all set up, but glad to see you as well. And anyway, so you missed an interesting thing about A Warning for Evangelicals. Go back maybe and if you would listen to that. And I'm going to move on to my next topic. And my next topic is I want to talk about some more civil asset seizure. I've talked about this before, where if you get stopped by the police, then if they're empowered to take your stuff, basically, based on these civil asset seizure laws. Now, these laws were designed so that the police could take things off of drug dealers and, in a way, put them out of business. If you catch a drug dealer with a bunch of drugs, bunch of money, and a fast car, you confiscate the car and the money and the drugs, and even before you do anything. Well, unfortunately, because of the rules put in place around the laws for the civil asset seizure, the police departments were getting to keep the money that they seized. So now all of a sudden there's an incentive to find money and then keep it. And it turns out that because it's a civil thing, it has nothing to do with any criminal things. If they think there is a reason to take your money, they can do it, and you have to sue them in court to get your money back. Yes, strangely enough, you are guilty until proven innocent, which, how this gets through the Constitution, I really don't understand. But blood boiling time, and this is really a blood boiling show this week. So there was a driver that got stopped, and he had $167,000 in cash in his car. He sued to get it back. The judge says they have to give it back, and now the DA is appealing this ruling. Absolutely unbelievable. But let's hear the story. What happened that the person stopped was a Mr. Gorman. Gorman was stopped twice outside of Nevada during a trip. He was driving from Delaware to California. He was driving across the country in a motorhome to see his girlfriend. And he was stopped on the interstate because he was driving too slowly in the passing lane. So, according to court documents, Gorman didn't consent to a search of his vehicle, and I wouldn't either, to tell you the truth. But the trooper sent him on his way, didn't issue a ticket. That's fine. 50 minutes later, the other side of the town, he gets stopped by a police officer in a different county. This time, the police were ready for him and had a drug-sniffing dog. And so they started the dog moving around his RV, and the dog was sniffing, and then basically made the sign that he was sniffing something suspicious. Now, I don't trust drug-sniffing dogs. And I think we have lots of very good policemen, but there are a few bad apples. And in this case, with the drug-sniffing dogs, I don't trust them because they can be trained to give the suspicious signal even without there being suspicion. I mean, it's a dog. You can train them to do that. So he gave the signal. That gives the police probable cause, so they can search the vehicle without a warrant. And the police officer found $167,000 in cash stored throughout the vehicle. So the officer seized the cash, a laptop, a cell phone, and the vehicle under these civil asset forfeiture laws. But after they took the RV, the motorhome, to the police station, they couldn't find any drugs, and Gorman was never charged with a crime. So you'd think, well, then he automatically gets all his stuff back. Nope. You don't. You have to sue to get it back. As I said, you are guilty until proven innocent. Now, so Gorman filed a claim in federal court to get his money back because he claimed that the first highway patrol trooper had called ahead to the Elko County police and arranged for Gorman to be pulled over again because he didn't like the fact that he hadn't agreed to let his motorhome be inspected inside. Anyway, so that in of itself is wrong because there you just and then, like I said, they brought the dog. You train the dog to point whenever you want, and then you've got an excuse to go in and look for stuff. So in June, Larry Hicks, a U.S. District Judge for the District of Nevada, ordered the government to return Gorman's money. Hicks even criticized the government for failing to disclose information related to that second traffic stop, especially that the first officer of the highway patrol had called ahead and told the Elko County sheriff to pull him over again. Now, when you are in court, the government has a duty of fair disclosure to the court, and the court, Hicks said, the court expects and relies upon the United States Attorney's Office to be candid and forthcoming with material information uniquely held only in the possession of the government and clearly relevant to central issues before the court. That did not happen here. The Gorman's lawyer is actually pointing to this criticism by the judge is the reason why the U.S. Attorney's Office is working to have his ruling overturned, because it puts them in a bad light. There is an incentive to win the case to save face, especially potentially since the judge called them out on their conduct in the case. In addition, Hicks encouraged Gorman to request the government to cover his legal fees, which is part of the law, which amount to $153,000. So they're going to have to give back that $176,000 and the $153,000. So that's over $300,000, which they would be out, plus their own lawyers' fees. And the U.S. Attorney's Office has asked the court not to require the government to pay Gorman's lawyers' fees. But why? That's the law. Folks, what's going on? This is Bizarro World again. This is exactly what I'm saying. My blood's boiling, right? I mean, I can understand that you say, we suspect you of doing something, we're going to seize your assets until something is proven one way or the other. But as soon as they have no proof, it should be automatic that that their assets are released back to the person. There is no justification saying, oh, well, we're going to keep it anyway. And that is really what's bad about this law. That's something that our lawmakers need to change in these civil asset laws. And there are states that are changing the laws, and I hope they put these sort of things in there. Okay, folks, I see it's time for our next commercial break, so I'm going to take a quick break here, and I will be back again, as I say, right after these messages.
Patriot come lately. British by birth, American by choice. Just like the Founding Fathers. The voice of the conservative resistance.
Every day, millions of Americans grow more concerned about the future of our great nation. The truth is, over the last century, a small but powerful collectivist movement known as progressivism has debased our politics, our culture, and our currency. We're just a small step from falling into 1,000 years of darkness, as Ronald Reagan warned. Friend, this is Pat Boone with an important free offer on a hot new book called The Great Withdrawal by Craig Smith and Lowell Ponte. This new book explains how we, the people, can end this fatal detour into big government and get back on the path of faith and freedom charted by our founders. Call now for a free copy of the hot new book called The Great Withdrawal.
Call now for your free copy. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. That's 800-978-3901.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS that you can't pay? Call now for immediate help. At the Tax Relief Line, we help people just like you. If you take on the IRS alone, you could be facing levies, liens, even wage garnishments, personal or business tax issues. If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS, call now and see if you can pay less. They can freeze your bank accounts, even garnish your wages. Call the Tax Relief Line now for immediate help. Our expert team of tax professionals will negotiate your tax problem and deal with the IRS for you. If the IRS is threatening you with levies, wage garnishments, or seizing your assets, call now and see if you can pay the IRS less.
888-789-5043. 888-789-5043. 888-789-5043. 888-789-5043.
This is Patriot Come Lately Talk Radio, keeping the spirit of America alive, a proud member of the Red State Talk Radio Network.
And I'm back in the show, folks. Thanks for waiting. Actually, with all these things going on around these police officers, these brave police officers getting shot and things like that, there's one thing we have to remember. Black lives matter. I don't disagree with that, but white lives matter, and blue lives matter as well. So here's a little reminder of that from a rather famous person.
This is Jeff Carlisi from the Band 38 Special. Let us never forget that police lives matter.
Yes, police lives matter as well. All lives matter, and the sooner we get back to a more civil society, the better. However, talking about civil society, and I was ranting on a little bit about the evangelicals and not supporting Republicans the way they should. I don't blame them in a way for not supporting Republicans, and talking, as I said, about being civil. What about this next piece of news? At a fundraiser in Colorado recently, the Speaker of the House, yes, Mr. John Crybaby Boehner, stunned audience members. This was, I think, Wednesday last week, by referring to Republican presidential candidate Ted Cruz as a jackass. This is according to people who attended. And that seems to have rubbed a number of attendees the wrong way. And so it should. We're supposed to be being civil, and definitely as Republicans, we don't form circular firing squads and shoot at each other. But the Washington elites couldn't care less, because they think they have all the power and they think they're going to be returned to power. And unfortunately, Trump's dropped a bit, and we've got the quiet Ben Carson, who I like a lot, but not as a president. He'd make a great Surgeon General, and we need someone brash and hard and tough like Trump in there to clean out this nest of vipers. And that's what they are, both on the right and the left. We need to get rid of the Pelosi's. We're getting rid of Harry Reid, thank goodness. We need to get rid of Pelosi. We need to get rid of Boehner and all of his cronies. Anyway, so what he actually said was he quit how he likes. Cruz's presidential campaign keeps that jackass out of Washington and from telling Boehner how to do his job. Well, at least someone's telling Boehner how to do his job, because he's certainly not listening to us, is he? So, I don't think it's terribly speaker-like, and I think it goes against everything that Reagan ever said about disparaging Republicans. That Ed MacArthur was someone who attended the fundraiser. It's become very disturbing to me that we can't have good, polite conversation. It all has to be at the throat, and it's either the throat with the Republicans or it's the Democrats and the Republicans at each other's throats. Well, wouldn't it be fun, and based on the current polling it'd be difficult, but wouldn't it be fun if we had a President Cruz? That would show Boehner what. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if there was a chance, if we were able to get that much of a swing to the Conservatives, we might even be able to boot Boehner. We did it to that Virginia congressman, right, Eric Cantor, and hopefully we could do it to Boehner as well, because he has outlived his usefulness. And earlier in the show, I was talking about our friends, the Black Lives Matter group, and how one of their leaders, because they're a ragtag army and I don't think they have a single leader, but one of their leaders and then useful idiots like Richard Fowler are all claiming that they are a peaceful lot, except that there is a race war, especially because, and it's one that's been fired up by the president, by King Barry. He's no president, he's a king, or Khalif Hussein, because that's what he thinks he is, and also race-baiting puppets like Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, stirring up the racial discord. And recently, social media has been riddled with these Black Lives Matter activists saying all these horrible things about policemen, but also anti-American sentiments. What about the movements to stomp, defecate, or burn the American flag? Right? And there was a black lady who calls herself Nocturnus Libertas, right? So, Night Liberty. And she launched a campaign to shit on America. But she joined with the Black Lives Matter crowd to bring a true race war to the streets. And race war is not just something that's plain and simple. No, this is something these people are taking literally. And one of these activists showed up at another protest, screaming at reporters and participants at this protest, which was supposed to be a peaceful protest, that all white people must die. And she refused to answer questions from the media, claiming she did not negotiate with terrorists, because they were probably white reporters. You mother effers should have thought we should all be killed when you came and stole us from Africa and put us in chain and murdered us for over 400 years. So yes, you need to die. I think everyone else on the planet will have peace when you're dead, this lady said. Well, that is, again, to me, that's hate speech. That's racial hate speech. It's as bad as the Ku Klux Klan or worse. But anyway, she is free to make her statements someone said it's protected under the Constitution, I would dispute that, because you are not free to incite violence, right? So she has crossed the freedom of speech line because she's threatened to kill anyone who speaks out against their group. And they have a special, unique hatred for military veterans. They routinely target patriots with their wrath, and publicly bragging that for a small donation of $7, they will locate and post private information and get any patriot or veteran fired from their job. Now, why doesn't Facebook, why doesn't Twitter stop this? Well, remember, Facebook and Twitter are very much left-wing things. So a reporter, along with other rogue investigators, began to infiltrate their group with the shared goal of exposing them. But soon we realized that their plans to defecate or burn American flags would be the least of their concerns, as their agenda is much more sinister than that. They were organizing very disturbing things, plans for killing black people with white friends, poisoning food and water supplies to kill whites, and commandeering weapons for biological warfare. And when they found out about one of these people had infiltrated, they then started posting stuff, trying to get this person killed, trying to get this person fired from their job, and even threatening, threatening to gut his pregnant wife, hang its baby, just unbelievable stuff that they were doing. And does the Department of Injustice do anything about it? No, nothing at all. Well, folks, I mean, isn't that just the most disgusting thing out? I don't know about you, but I think it is. Anyway, so what do we do about it? Well, they have stepped over the line. So theoretically, the police, the FBI, the Department of Justice could take action. So why don't they? Another reason, folks, why we have to work hard and make sure that we get a conservative, or at the very least a Republican in the White House, and that we keep the Congress. Folks, we have to spread the message. You have to tell folks about this, especially people that you have that you know are on the fence. Show them how warped and twisted these Democrats are, and they don't call out. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was saying what a great group these folks in the Black Lives Matter are. They are supporting these folks. Folks, we can't do this for our country. It is destroying our country. And if Debbie Wasserman Schultz wants to support them, put her on that boat, put her on that plane to Cuba, because we don't want her here anymore. I mean, this is just ridiculous. So, like I said, if the blood's not spurting out of your eyes with everything you've heard tonight, I don't know what else is. I see. I had a little bit of a break there. But I'm still on the air, so that's good. Okay, that's fine. Looks like we had some audio problems. So hopefully you're still hearing me, and I don't have to re-record all this before I put it out to the rebroadcast stations and the recordings. But I'm going to keep talking. I see we're coming up to our final break. I got a couple of other topics, and then get you ready for some special shows that are coming up. It is the month of September, and we have some special shows at that time. So, folks, here is our final commercial break, and starting in about 2 seconds, I will be back after these messages.
If If you're diabetic, this message could change your life. Is your blood sugar out of control even when you do all the right stuff? Are you afraid of diabetic blindness and the risk of amputation, as well as all those other side effects? Well, you should be. Is there anything that could help manage your blood sugar? Nobetes is a natural supplement that may quickly and dramatically lower your blood sugar.
My name is Bob Corder. I've been using Nobetes for about 3.5 to 4 months now, and in the first 3 months, I've actually lowered my blood sugars from 500s down to 139, and then it dropped to 88 to 93.
My name is Kirsten. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and while taking Nobetes, my blood sugar levels dropped from 295 to 115 in just 1 day.
The FDA hasn't evaluated these statements, and Nobetes isn't intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. But for many, it's helped drop their blood sugar. So if you've been evaluated with high blood sugar, don't delay. Evaluate Nobetes now. Call 800-424-3790 and get 2 bottles free. Just cover shipping and handling. Call 800-424-3790. That's 800-424-3790.
The offer of a franchise can only be made through delivery of a franchise disclosure document. Imagine yourself being a leader in America's fastest-growing demographic category. More than 10,000 people a day turn 65, and a large percentage are going to need a helping hand at home or in choosing the right assisted living community. Always Best Care is looking for people who've excelled at everything they've done, but they're seeking a new challenge. Always Best Care is one of the fastest growing companies in this explosive field. We're looking for 25 new franchisees to keep our booming business growing. We'll back you up with the strongest award-winning marketing program in the industry, and we'll provide the special training and support that's fueled our growth to prepare you for this great opportunity. All that's missing is you. Call Always Best Care toll-free at 1-800-643-7508. That's 1-800-643-7508. For Always Best Care, 1-800-643-7508. Call today.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us.
And folks, we're into the final minutes of the show. I want to thank you for joining me, but we do have another couple of quick topics that I'd like to handle. So first of all, here was a rather interesting paradoxical quote from Ben Stein. And he said, "Fathom the hypocrisy of a government that requires every citizen to prove they are insured, but not everyone must prove they are a citizen, especially to vote." I added those last 2 votes myself. But now add this. Many of those who refuse or are unable to prove that they are citizens will receive free insurance paid for by those who are forced to buy insurance because they are citizens. Think about that one for a while, folks. Okay, final topic here. We just got time for this. This is one, again, that shows how the regressive have absolutely nothing for the Constitution whatsoever. They just have no respect whatsoever. And this is Senator Tammy Baldwin. She's a Democrat from Wisconsin. And she is talking about the First Amendment. And she is really trying to get rid of religious liberty. One of the things she's pushing is the loss of tax exemptions for churches and institutions that don't comply with the Supreme Court same-sex marriage decision. Because she says that's not constitutional. And in a June 27th broadcast, so this is a while back on MSNBC, she said the following: "Certainly the First Amendment says that in institutions of faith there is an absolute power to observe deeply held religious beliefs, but I don't think it extends far beyond that." In other words, in institutions of faith. In other words, in church you can do and say what you want. As soon as you step outside the church, no. We've seen the set of arguments play out in issues such as access to contraception. Should it be the individual pharmacist whose religious beliefs guides whether a prescription is filled, or in this context they're talking about expanding this far beyond our churches and synagogues to businesses and individuals across this country? I think there are clear limits that have been set in other contexts, and we have to abide by those in this new context across America. Well, we know as soon as they talk about a new context, they're talking about changing the rules, changing the laws. Baldwin is misinterpreting the Constitution or misreading the Constitution with its mandate that says Congress shall pass no law prohibiting the free exercise of religion. It's a key phrase in the First Amendment, and the First Amendment is the First Amendment for a reason. These rights are not limited to institutions, they apply to all individuals. Just as the Supreme Court decided the Second Amendment applies to individuals and not just state-ordained militias. So watch out, folks. The left is trying to do that. Just looking at some things in the chat room here. Yeah, Geraldo is diplomat to Iran. No, send him to North Korea, even better. Anyway, folks, we're getting to the end of the show. Quick reminder. Next show will be on September 8th, and it's the closest date to September 11th. I saw a thing the other day that showed a picture of the towers coming down and saying, when this happened, right, Muslims were responsible, and yet now we bend over backwards to accommodate them. Have we forgotten? Yes, we have forgotten. So I'm going to help remind. It's It's the 14th anniversary. I'm going to do my annual replay of the interview with one of the brave firefighters in New York. It's a very moving show. My regular listeners will recognize it, but I will be here in the chat room at that time. The week after that is actually going to be the special on the Constitution, which is also a special show. I did around July 4th. I did my interpretation of the Declaration of Independence, and I picked some part of the Constitution, and we'll handle that on the following week because that's the one closest to Constitution Day, and I think that's very important as well. So, folks, we are rapidly approaching those two special shows. I hope you'll join me for them. And as I said, for the 9/11 one, it is a recording. Most of the show is recorded, so you will hear me. Quality is a little less because it was recorded in the Blog Talk Radio time. But we have to be reminded about that horrible time. We have to remember because we're being too politically correct and we're doing too many things with the Muslims. And then the constitutional show will follow after that. And then the show after those two, I do want to talk about something that I had hoped to bring in today, but I had so many other things. Another blood-boiling thing. This is something I heard on Beck, which was about people who are trying to bring Christians from the Middle East and are finding that the State Department won't let them in, but we are letting in tens of thousands of Muslim refugees. What's going on there? That will also make your blood boil. So, folks, it is almost time to say those famous words. I would like to ask you, please do tell your friends. I've noticed recently Red State Talk Radio Network has had a banner year, but my numbers haven't gone up, so please tell your friends to listen. I would really appreciate that. Okay, folks, it's that time. It's time to say TTFN. Please join me for that special show next week and the week after.
Thank you for listening to the show. I hope that you enjoyed tonight's topics. Whether you listened live, to a recording, or to a rebroadcast, I appreciate the time you share with me. We need to spread the message of liberty far and wide, so please tell your friends and family about the show. Thank you for helping to keep the beacon of hope burning. This is Stephen, your Patrick Come Lately, signing off. God bless America, and remember, L3, long live liberty.